Recording. So good morning and welcome to the week 2 lecture. We're doing something a little different this week because we had a holiday weekend. We had Labor Day weekend. And so we mentioned this in the week 1 lecture, and if you were browsing through your materials, you may have already seen it. But we posted last month's archive lecture for week 2 so that if you wanted to get started on Monday, it was available to you. So instead of repeating that whole lecture, which is already posted for you, we decided that we would use today as a chance for some Q&A. So if you have any specific questions about the coursework, about the policies, about any instructions that weren't making sense to you, this is a great time to do that. We also have, if you have trouble with, so this week, the assignment is focused on research. So it will be really important that you watch that archived lecture because we show you how to use the library databases. It's not the same thing as just looking something up in the library. It's actually, there are databases of professional journals that we want you to use for your research, and in that lecture we actually go to those databases. We show you how to search for things. We show you how to limit results. If you get too many, we show you how to expand results if you don't get enough. We show you what kinds of things to research. So it's a really, really helpful lecture. And then if you watch that lecture and you're like, oh yes, I can do this, I can find these articles, and then you get to the articles and you're like, I have never read an academic article before in my life. How do I decipher this? It's like a different language. We also have a bonus video posted for you. And that bonus lecture actually walks you through how to quickly figure out if an article is what you're going to be able to use for your essay or not. And then once you figure out if you can use it, it shows you how to quickly zero in on the most useful information. So if that's not something you're used to reading, you've got that bonus video in the week 2 readings and lecture archive activity as well. So those are already there. And because they're there, we're not going to repeat those demonstrations or lectures. But if you do have questions, this is a great time. And I'm just going to say, if you would like to unmute your mic and ask questions out loud, that's fine. If Elise or Susan want to jump in and say anything, that's fine. And oh, Susan's got a poll for us. Susan, if you want to go ahead and launch the poll, that would be great. And maybe while Susan's putting that up, it looks like Elise would like to speak because her mic just came on.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much this is for you guys. So if there was anything specific that, even if it was from week 1, if it has anything to do with maybe with tactics, or if you have any questions about research, or hopefully you did watch yesterday, the go-to, but pretty much just repeating what Bethany has just said. So we're leaving it up to you.
All right, so I'm looking at the results of the poll, and it looks like 100% of the people who are here are concerned about the research. Oh, maybe a little bit fewer. Now it's down to 67%. I wonder if you're all changing your answers. But it looks like people do have questions about research techniques and McGraw-Hill. I am thinking it might work best if we start with McGraw-Hill because that will probably be the simplest, and then go to tactics and techniques because that will lead into the research. So, all right, awesome.
Yeah, Bethany, would you like me to? I can probably talk about McGraw-Hill if you're cool with that.
Yeah, take it away. Would you?
Okay.
Let's
see if anybody has any questions
the
about
PALAs.
it. What their questions
people.
are.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, let me launch. Let me close the poll.
So while I am making Susan presenter, if you do have specific questions, type them in the chat.
Yes, I'm going to close the poll. Only 43% of you who are here have voted, which isn't great. But so those of you that are here, they're not quite paying attention yet.
Or that don't have any questions.
Or
maybe
they don't have any questions.
They've got it all under control.
I should have made that an option.
Maybe they're that good.
I'll have to add that as an option next time. I haven't gotten the thing saying, hey, do you want the power yet?
I sent it to you, so I
I've
think
got something weird going on in my windows today. I've got this one giant black window. I don't know what that's about.
I am gonna. I
But I
can't send it
will.
again because it's already set there.
Okay, let me see if I can.
I'm gonna take it back and send it back to
Yeah,
you. How's
try
that?
that.
All right, I'm showing my screen,
I
and
see
now
you.
I am going to. Okay, don't move anything around on your screen.
Right.
I'm making you presenter now.
Yeah, there it is. That was so weird. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, hey everybody. Can you see me? Okay, so some people do have McGraw-Hill questions, and somebody who says is waiting for name says today is QA only. So, what? Can you guys see me? Yes, you can. The archive is posted from last month because since as Bethany has already stated, we had a holiday yesterday, and that's why grading has not yet begun. If you're like, where's my grade? Because we haven't done that yet. But if you have questions, please let me know. Do you have questions specifically about McGraw-Hill? Those of you that have McGraw-Hill questions, because some people said they did have McGraw-Hill questions. I'm not seeing anything yet.
You can take your mic off mute and just tell Susan what your question is. That is okay.
Yeah, that is fine. Anybody? One of the I'll start by saying nobody's saying anything. Nobody. I don't know if you guys can you take your mic off mute? Are you having trouble?
Oh, there we go. Okay, the person who is unnamed by GoTo has just put up a message about grandma being in surgery. I don't know whose student you are, but I'm going to respond to that if that's okay.
Yeah.
If you have an immediate family member in surgery, please send a message to your instructor letting them know what's going on, and they will work with you for extensions.
Right.
That does qualify as a documentable emergency that can give you extensions, but we have a limit on how much extension we can give you, and we want to make sure you don't get too far behind. So if you haven't already sent your instructor a message, do that now. And if you need to get out of the GoTo so you can attend to your family, do that now too, because we're recording and you will have another chance to watch this. So prioritize your family and make sure that you're communicating so that we can get back to you.
And as Bethany has
That's
stated,
understandable.
Yes, absolutely.
The person that actually is, this is Aaron Schussler, and I'm sorry I didn't put my name in it.
Oh, I saw it earlier. I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah. So, but yes, I understand that, but the surgery, it should take today, if not tomorrow at the latest. And like I said in there, I will be done by Friday, Saturday at the latest. So no biggie on that extension part.
Okay.
All right. Keep in mind that, we will be getting feedback to you this week. So make sure, Aaron, I know you're not my student, but make sure that you do.
I think you're mine.
Make sure you.
Yeah, at least you are
I'm your teacher. Yeah. No worries. If you don't mind though, I'll put that in, because if we don't put in the extension, then there's there's a 10% penalty, or 10 points per day penalty. So
yeah, I know. I'll keep that in mind.
No, you won't have.
Because, but right now I don't think I need one, because I take my tablet with me everywhere, so I will be doing my work even while I'm waiting. So.
And those waiting rooms are like dreadfully boring.
Yes, that's why I bring my tablet.
Because I've been in those waiting rooms many times, and it's, while you're stressed about your family, it's kind of nice to have something else to think about.
That's why I'm bringing my tablet so I can do it. So.
Right.
But I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Aaron.
Blessings to your grandma.
Take care, Aaron.
Thoughts to your grandma.
Yep. Yeah.
I will. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
No one else has said, does anybody, people said they had McGraw-Hill questions in the poll.
Yes.
So I'm just, who has questions?
So, Susan, maybe we just want to talk about McGraw-Hill.
Sure.
Maybe just talk a little bit about how the Achieve modules work, what the readings are there for.
Yeah, I'm going to talk in a kind of some general issues that I've seen. that with there being sections that are designed for people who've taken the course before, one of the problems we often run into is the students say, well, I've completed this assignment before. Well, these are adaptive learning modules. So even if you have done the week 1 module before, you're not going to get the same exact questions that you got the last time. It does adapt to your answers. It does adapt to your ability. And if you've completed it successfully, it actually will probably go significantly faster this time, as long as you are paying attention to it. Now, I've done this, I've done the modules. And if you're not doing like other things, like if you have TV on or people are talking to you while you try to do them, they will take a while. But, the questions might be similar to questions that you've seen before. The formats are going to be the same. You might think, well, I already know this. Just answer the questions. It'll go pretty fast. If your problem is, and I've had this with students as well, that you submitted like a screenshot from your previous section, we can't accept that. They need to be done this term. You can't be graded twice for the same exact work, really, and that's what it amounts to. So you're going to learn more this time. They will go faster this time, but you still have to do them in the current section so that we can see it.
So could I add to that a little bit? Okay, so when Susan says they're adaptive, that's the key thing. You might get a couple of the same questions, but because they are adaptive, what that means is they will start by assessing what you already know, and they will give you questions and exercises to help you learn the next level. And so even if you already did them, you did them at the level where you were the last time, you should be at a slightly higher level now.
Mhm.
And so these grammar modules will continue to improve you over time. And there are several courses at Fulldale that use them, not just English Comp. So if you're going into any other classes that involve writing, there's a good chance you'll see them again. And even though it looks like the same assignment, each time it'll be a little different because it adapts to where you are and helps you get better. And the cool thing about that is if you finish them, you get 100%.
Right.
If you get all the way done, you get 100% because it's not about being perfect. The whole point is to figure out where you're not perfect and make it better. And so you're graded on your willingness to learn, not on your perfect answers.
And if you have, if you don't know how to get into your current section, I've seen this problem over and over and over again. I actually walked a student through this. You are probably like me and have like 50 windows open in your browser. You probably have another McGraw-Hill window somewhere in there. You need to go in and log out of your old class. You need to log completely out and then follow the link in the registration details in order to get to your current section. It should say, like mine says Kaposa 1809. We all name our sections perhaps slightly differently, but make sure you are in your current instructor's section and the current month section. Because I have 2 students who have had me before. So if they could still be in a Kaposa section and not be in the right month. So if you have questions about McGraw-Hill, I think we've covered most of it. If anybody has a question that I haven't covered, please feel free to type it into the chat. And I think the other questions, there were some questions on techniques and tactics and some questions on research. I would say for techniques and tactics, the biggest issue I see is students who are trying to pick a tactic or a technique that is not something that you can find concrete detail for. Meaning, Wesley, if Bethany will probably answer that, and I'll answer it too in a second. If you are looking at tactics and techniques need to be concrete things you can point to. Like when we talked about the Diet Coke example, there was music, there was the camera panning, there was the font, there is lighting, all of those things. We talked about that all in week 1. So you need to go back and look at week 1. When you look at that worksheet, everything that we specifically have, like talk about the color in the ad, that is a technique, that is a tactic. So you need to be looking at the things that you can specifically point to concrete elements. If you say humor is a tactic, how is humor used? Is it humorous images? Is it humorous language? If you're saying it's humorous language, then language is the concrete tactic, not humor. It needs to be something that you can actually point to. It's the how of the ad. It's not the ethos, pathos, and logos. Those are appeals. Those are not techniques or tactics. That's the what. We're looking for the how. So, for example, and the example I use, I think, in one of my comments to students is if you're talking about sad music in the ASPCA, you know, the ASPCA ad, sad music is used to make you feel feel the emotion of sadness or feel the emotion of, something like that. So the emotion is the pathos. That is the what. The how is the sad music. So, and then you go more into depth to discuss that how. And Bethany's making a really good suggestion for, I don't know, somebody's asking, they wanted to do more work on their grammar some more. They wanted to do some extra practice on their grammar. They might, if it says recharge, you can go back and look at it again. If you're not getting that recharge, which usually you do, so that is kind of strange. But other resources, there's a great grammar book, and I have this at home too. It's called The Deluxe Transitive Vampire. And there's also, you can, if you need to say to us, hey, I want more help, or I want to do some more grammar work, we can create some additional help modules. But you need to let us know if you want that extra help. All right, so any questions specifically about the techniques and tactics that you guys want to ask? Or I think
I'm sorry, I'm going to
Sure.
interrupt again, but
No, go
since
ahead.
you were going through that, if you do choose to recharge a grammar module, wait until you see your grade for it in FSO, because McGraw-Hill does not report late work to your instructors. We can't see it if you finished it after the deadline. You have to send us screenshots. You want to make sure that we have seen your grade before you recharge it, because it sometimes erases that grade. So don't recharge it until you see we've recorded your grade in FSO. Once you see that, have at it. And then another resource for extra grammar is the Writing Center. If there are specific areas where you know you have a hard time with grammar, you can make an appointment and you can tell them exactly what you want to talk about. If somebody has said you use commas all over the place but never in the place where they belong, then you can say to the Writing Center, I need help with commas, and you can show them a sample of your writing and they'll go through it with you, and they will teach you how to find the errors for yourself so that in the future you can self-correct. So if you have a specific area of grammar or punctuation that you have a specific need, when you sign up with them, that hour is yours to do whatever you need with.
Yes, and that can be online
Yes.
as well. You can do that through the, they use GoToTraining just like we do. Actually, I think they use
So you can go to
GoToMeeting,
Full Sail
but it's the same.
Connect. Yeah.
Anybody have a question? This is we're here for you guys.
Shall we turn it, maybe Elise wants to talk about
Sure.
techniques a little bit, and then I can talk about research,
Yeah.
since those were the 3 categories.
Sure. Okay.
God.
One of the things that I notice most students get kind of confused about is because we ask you for 2 to 3 tactics/techniques, is you want to kind of fall back on the 3 appeals. And it's unfortunate that the number is the same, but they are actually different things. So where the appeal is sort of the huge, let's say, umbrella, and actually, you know what, I might as well be showing my face while I'm talking, huh? Show my screen. Here we go. Okay, maybe not that part of my screen. We'll show face. Sorry, I was watching.
Elise look at the bottom. She has as many windows as I do.
I know, and they say that's really bad because it slows down your computer like crazy. Okay, so we'll go to photo booth. There we go. Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm gonna try to, there we go. Maybe that helps a little bit with light. Okay, so yes, the 3 appeals, consider them like they are an umbrella, okay? And so you have your umbrella of ethos, your umbrella of pathos, your umbrella of logos. And under these umbrellas are the tactics. These tactics use that appeal, okay? So for example, if you wanted, and I'd probably just get some people to mention in the box here, we went over in week 1 some tactics, and you also had them on your worksheet, your step 1 worksheet. So some tactics, let's say music, okay? Which umbrella do you think that would fall under? Which appeal would that fall under? Pathos, exactly. Pathos, and the reason why is because it affects us emotionally, right? Music can sway our opinions by making us feel things, and any tactic that makes us feel things is going to fall under that big umbrella of pathos. So if you think about it that way, you're not writing about ethos, pathos, and logos, you're writing about the tactic and the fact that the tactic does use that appeal, okay? So the same thing, what if you had, let's say, statistics or anything, or facts? Which one would that be? Logos, again, Wesley, yay! Exactly. Exactly. And so what this does is gets you more into, when you're going to be writing the essay, looking at discussing 3 different tactics, or 2 to 3 different tactics, and then that appeal is added towards the end. And that goes with our thesis statement that we gave you as a template on the step 1. So I would definitely follow that. If you're not used to writing a thesis statement, that template is the perfect way. It gets you everything you need to know, from the title to the audience to the 3 tactics, and it gives you an order as well that you can then discuss things in. So we'll be giving you some feedback on your step 2, I believe. Yes, step 2. And that will give you more about your research, okay? But I think we also wanted to mention that we're giving that to you this week, but the essay is still due on Wednesday. Isn't the essay due tomorrow? You may correct me if I'm wrong. I think the essay is due
Elise,
tomorrow. Yeah.
your head is in week 3 and we're in week 2. They're
Okay, I'm jumping ahead, guys. Sorry
yeah,
about
so
that.
we're going to be giving you guys feedback on your step 1 worksheet in the next couple of days.
Oh,
So your step
okay.
1 worksheet, especially number 6, has lots of different techniques and tactics that you explored about the ad, and we'll give you some feedback on that as well as on your thesis. You'll use that feedback to do the research and to build the step 2. And you don't have to wait for our feedback because you should already have 3 techniques and you can start that research. But the feedback will help you kind of refine the research a little bit. Next week, you will write the first draft of your essay, so don't stress about that. That's not due till next Wednesday.
Sorry about that. Okay, so then going back to the tactics, several of you probably used, if you're my students, you may have used the buy commercial. And in that, one of the major tactics they use is celebrities, right? Because you have Christopher Walken and you have Justin Timberlake. And both of those are celebrities. Celebrities tend to make us want to buy things because we trust them, right? Oh, if that guy likes it, I should like it too, right? Because we have that trust going on with them. I know you, and therefore I'm going to trust you. So if that's the case, which tactic, or sorry, which appeal does that fall under? Probably waiting for Wes again. Remember the big umbrellas. So which one would celebrities or celebrity endorsement? Exactly. Ethos, right? Because that is the appeal to credibility. That is the appeal to trust. It's very easy to get the 2 mixed up. And I think Susan mentioned it before. If you think of the emotional one as pathos, think of it as pathetic, okay? Because that's where the word comes from. So if you think of that, that will keep you towards the P for for emotion, that you're looking at it as the pathetic, okay? But these are great. So think about it in that way when you're looking at, on your worksheets, if you have done this, we've just mentioned it to you so you can revise that, but we'll probably mention it to you also in the feedback. But if you go through that and you want to try to figure out where your tactics fall, do it something very simple. You can do a picture drawing, just draw a big umbrella and start putting tactics underneath, but label at the top which one they come from, okay? Because we're not interested, or at least the essay is not going towards you describing what ethos, pathos, and logos are. We already know what those things are. What we don't know is we don't know how the tactics are using that to affect, okay, a target audience.
So I'm noticing that Elsa has a mic on. Elsa, do you have a question, or is it just on by chance?
Elsa?
I think we might take that as on by chance. I'm going to go ahead and mute it so no intentional noise comes through.
No worries.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thanks, Elsa. We got you covered.
Does that help everybody, I suppose, when you're thinking about tactics or techniques? Just remember that the 3 appeals are those umbrellas, okay? Your tactics are going to fall underneath them. Now, it's more likely that 1 or 2 of those appeals are being used based on the different tactics that you could choose. It's a little more difficult for you to try to make every commercial fit the 3 appeals, all 3 of them, because a lot of times it's hard to do both left and right brain at the same time, if that makes sense. So you may find that credibility and emotion are put together. Okay, so you might have ethos and pathos, or you may find that credibility and statistics maybe, so or how to, so maybe you might have ethos and logos. But it's more than likely, if you're going to be using pathos, that is the strongest one, you're fine, use pathos. You don't have to try to find more than 1 of those appeals, okay? It's really going to depend on the tactic that you're using. All right, let's see if there's any questions. Okay. Okay. Yes, that's great. I think Wesley's question's already been asked, addressed, but basically you'll expect to have probably 1 of the appeals, but you will have 3 tactics, okay? Can a technique appeal to more than 1? Yes, it can actually. That's a good question. Bethany answered it as well. So it is possible that you might look at a celebrity and go, oh, I really like them because they're cute, so I'm going to do what they say. That could be more emotional. But again, you're trusting them. So I would say that the overriding appeal is going to be ethos versus pathos. But, you know, it could be, you know, you like the person, so you want to do it that way. Do you have an
piggybacking off of that response, so a couple of things. First, it's more about the audience than it is about, like, the target audience than it is about your personal taste. So if you happen to like that celebrity, you may be in the target audience, but don't just think in terms of your preferences. Think in terms of who is the overall target audience and how would they respond. But for instance, one of the ads that is on my list is the Google Year in Search 2016 ad, and there are several celebrity appearances in this ad, and I'm not going to talk about all of them, but one includes Lin-Manuel Miranda's acceptance speech at the Tonys in the same year that the Pulse shooting happened in Orlando, Florida. And that actually happened the same day as the Tonys. And, oh, somebody's giving me the screen, and I'll take it.
Yeah, because you're talking.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
So, no, good.
So, okay, so in that particular case, it's not about if you like Lin-Manuel Miranda or not, then you get the warm fuzzies for that person. Lin-Manuel Miranda creates credibility. The use of his presence in that ad creates ethos, credibility, trust. But the speech that he's giving, the specific thing that he's saying, is a very emotional thing. He's talking. It's his love is love speech, where he addresses through. I believe it's a sonnet that he wrote. His acceptance speech was a sonnet that addresses hatred toward specifically the LGBT community who was targeted in that shooting earlier that same day. And so that speech is incredibly emotional. So his presence there, his being there, would be an appeal to ethos. But the speech he's giving, what he's doing there, the content of what's happening because of him, that speech would be giving an appeal to pathos. So it can have many layers. The techniques can have many layers to them. And so you'll want to kind of zero in on what exactly is making the feelings happen. Is it just that this person's here and I like it? If so, that might not be the appeal they're going for, because the fact that I like him means that I trust what he's going to say. That's really what they're after. But if the content of what that person is doing creates emotions, then there's another technique. We've got the presence of Lin-Manuel Miranda and other celebrities, but then we've also got the thing that this person is saying that creates a different appeal. So those are two different techniques. The speech and the appearance are two techniques. So there are times when one technique can create more than one appeal. There's another ad that includes a speech, and that speech is both an appeal to ethos and an appeal to pathos. And part of that is because of the faith that it references, and part of that is because of the types of things that it talks about. So there are times when the same technique will do two different things, but there are also times when it's easy to confuse two techniques as one. So make sure that you're kind of teasing out what the technique is actually doing. And I was going to use that as a transition to talk a little bit about the research, unless anyone has more questions about techniques. And I'm not seeing hands raised. I'm not seeing mics coming on. Not seeing typing in the chat. So we're going to talk a little bit about research. And then if we don't have any more questions after that, we'll wrap it up. So this one's really short because, again, that lecture archive recording that's already posted, that's where the meat for this week is. This is really just a Q&A. So I'm going to bring our portal over. I'm just going to kind of quickly look at week 2 with you. So I'm going to open it up. And so I want to show, because I really want to visually emphasize that the lecture is here. What we're doing right now is Q&A, but your lecture is actually here in the, oh, sorry, that's the resources and overview, which are great things to look at as well. But your lecture archive and recording is loading slowly, but here it is. So you can see that it is from August, but it will have the same content that you need. So this will show you how to do the research. And then down here, if you're confused once you get to the articles, this video will show you how to understand the articles and how to zero in on the useful information. So those are the required lectures for this week. And I want to go back to week 2. Just like last week, your assignments are due in fairly the same order. You have a journal response. This journal is going to help you organize some ideas about your ad. You're going to be looking at your step 1 worksheet while you do this, and it will help you just kind of think about what techniques are important and why and what they're doing. It'll help you create a quick little thumbnail outline. You don't have to make it pretty like this, but if you want to, by all means, we love looking at pretty thumbnail outlines. But you'll have a chance to basically look at your thesis from step 1, rewrite your thesis here, make sure that you've got 3 techniques and not appeals in it. So for instance, the techniques here for the Jeep ad, it says Jeep see whatever you want to see ad uses a visual riddle, wildlife, and a rugged background to convince young adult drivers that Jeep will fulfill their need for adventure. So our 3 techniques are a visual riddle, wildlife, and a rugged background. Those are 3 things that are in the ad. The appeal is the need for adventure, which is a pathos appeal. Now, I just want to write pathos, you know, that it uses the riddle, the wildlife, and the background to appeal to the pathos of young adult drivers. That's okay too. You can zero in on the exact type of pathos later in the term. But notice that the appeal, the pathos, is not part of that list. That list has 3 techniques, and those 3 techniques together create pathos. Now, Wes was asking earlier, can a technique create more than one appeal? Absolutely. You don't have to write about every appeal a technique creates. If you do get that ad that has the speech that has both ethos and pathos created by the speech itself, you can zero in on just one of those appeals, and that's okay, because we're only talking about 3 techniques, and the ad probably has hundreds. So it is okay if you only talk about one appeal, even if the ad has all 3. If you want to talk about all 3, by all means do, as long as you're using techniques that create all 3 of them. But then it gives you a chance to kind of figure out, so you'll make a sentence connecting the first technique to the appeal. You'll make another sentence connecting the second technique to the appeal. And you'll make another sentence connecting the third technique to the appeal. And this basically becomes thesis for your paper next week. The first sentence of your first body paragraph, the first sentence of your second body paragraph, and the first sentence of your third body paragraph. So you don't have to write all that right now, just writing these sentences will do. But if you do the week 2 journal, you're basically setting yourself up to already have the structure in place for your week 3 essay that you turn in. So, and then there's another example with the Diet Coke ad. In addition to thumbnail outline, there are also journal questions. The third one is the thumbnail outline, but the first 2, make sure that you answer those first, because it will help you really think about it. It'll help you decide if you want to change the order of the techniques in your thesis. So that's our week 2 journal. Your Achieve modules, we talked about those earlier. They're due Friday, just like always. Next week you have 2 writing assignments, so you won't have any Achieve modules, but then in week 4 we'll come back to having them due on Friday. So this is a pretty familiar schedule for you. And then you have organizing research. So this is the writing assignment for this week. And I just want to go through it with you since we're here together and kind of look at it. So the steps for this are, you want to watch the lecture, the one that's recorded that I just showed you where to find. You really want to watch the lecture, because if you haven't used library databases before, if you haven't read academic journals before, this assignment can be very confusing. But if you watch that lecture, we show you step by step how to use all the things that you need to do awesome on this assignment. And I'm always really proud of my students. This is the students who watch the lecture for this week usually do stellar on this assignment. The students who don't, you can tell, because it's just, if you don't watch the lecture, it's really hard to know what to do. But if you do watch the lecture, you will almost always end up with a really good grade on this one. Wes says, I would probably have more questions if I watched the lecture. Wes, don't worry about it. It's not due till Thursday, so you have time. Susan wants to add something.
Yes, I just wanted to. Every month I have students who, on the first, in that worksheet, the first resource we are asking you to talk about is the pathos, ethos, and logos in advertising video. You can see it right there in the instructions on the bottom of Bethany's page, bottom of Bethany's screen. The first resource that you should be talking about is that one. Every single month I have students who put another resource in that spot on the assignment.
Yes.
I have students that don't use the pathos, ethos, and logos in advertising video in their week 2 assignment. And we're giving it to you. Use it. It's important. It is also required. So
Yes.
make sure you're
well,
using
and
it.
and it also makes it easier, because, and thank
Absolutely.
you for bringing that up. And I'll go through the steps too and show you what that looks like on the worksheet as well in just a minute. But the nice thing about that is some of the techniques are hard to find. So when you're doing your research, you have 3 techniques, and you're going to need, in your essay later on, you're going to need to put research in the paragraph about each of those techniques. So you need 3 different sources to bulk up your essay. And sometimes those techniques are just really hard to find. And so in giving you this Matt Rosenau video, we've made it so that the one that's difficult to find, if you have one, you can research the other two and still do just fine because you've got a source already that you can use that works for any technique in the paragraph about the one that's harder to find. So we gave that to you for a couple of reasons. One to give you a demo, one to give you an intro to the appeals, but also to help make sure that you have research for each of your paragraphs when you write your essay. So you'll want to read your instructor's feedback on step 1. You haven't gotten that yet because we're all coming back from the holiday weekend too, but you'll get that in the next couple of days. You'll want to review the videos and resources, obviously. And you'll download the research worksheet, which is down at the bottom of the page here. And you can see, so that Matt Rosenau video is embedded in step 6, but it's also, some of us also have the video itself embedded in the assignment page. But down here, you'll find the worksheet right here. There's also a checklist to make sure it's done. And there's an example for those of you who like to look at examples and see how to do it. So basically it just goes through and shows you how to get through the worksheet. Rebuilders, you're going to be doing one more source than the people who are starting fresh. So if you have never taken this class before, you will only need to fill out the first 3 sources, the Matt Rosenau video and 2 that you find on your own. If you've taken this course before, but you're using a brand new ad this month and you're not rebuilding old work, you will also only need to find 3 sources. The Matt Rosenau is your first one, and then 2 that you find on your own. However, if you're rebuilding old work, we want to see that you have learned and grown, so you're going to need a 4th source, and there's a space for that on the worksheet. And you'll use APA citations on the worksheet. There's a video to help you with that, and there is also the projectapa.info resource, which we go into in great detail in the lecture for the week. But that will show you what the format is for those citations. Susan's pointing out in the chat that the ad doesn't count as a source for this assignment. It will need to be listed in your references on your essay, but it is not a source for step 2. So we won't be listing that till step 3. So I'm not going to go over the grading rubric and how to submit. It's one that you submit to turnitin.com. What I want to do instead is go ahead and I'm going to change my screen to screen 2. And I'm going to put the step 1 worksheet over here and the step 2 worksheet over here. Now, step 1 you should have already done. It was due on Saturday. If you haven't done it, turn it in as soon as you can. Get it done and turn it in so that you can get some late credit for it. And more importantly, so that you can get your instructor's comments on it, because I would say that at least a third, maybe even half of the teaching for this class happens in our feedback on your assignments. So because we will tell you what's working, what's not working, how to make it better even if it is working, how to fix it if it's not working in our feedback for your worksheets. And if you're not reading our feedback, you're missing up to half of the instruction for the class. So even if you haven't turned it in, and even if it gets to where it's too late to receive credit for turning it in, turn it in so you get some feedback, because it will help you do better on the next assignment. So anyway, your step 1 assignment, we mentioned that in the answer to number 6, you've got letters A through E that each ask you about things that are in the ad. Those are all techniques and tactics that are in the ad. When we're talking about how it tried to persuade the audience, those are the appeals. It created a sense of adventure. It created a need for love. It created a trust through the use of a familiar face. It created a logical soundness by presenting statistics. Those are ways that they try to persuade the audience. Those are the appeals. So in your thesis, and I just want to pull this up because Elise referenced it when she was talking about the techniques and the appeals, but it's nice to have a look at it. The thesis includes the title of your ad, and it includes 3 techniques that you found up here in number 6. And then it will tell what appeal those techniques create, and for whom they create that appeal. And it may or may not include you. The target audience might be a group that includes you. It might be a group that does not include you. If it includes you, make sure you're not saying everyone. Most of the time, if a target audience includes us, we'll think, oh, this is for everyone. Everyone would like this ad. No, not everyone likes the same thing that we like. And so if your first thought is, oh, this is for everyone, think harder, because chances are that you are part of the target audience. So think about what people have in common with you that would cause them to like this ad. Is it your age? Is it your political leaning? Is it your gender? Are there factors about you that are true about other people who would also like this ad? Are there people you can think of who wouldn't like the ad? And if there are, what's different about them to help you figure out who's not in that group? Sometimes that's easier to help you figure out who is in the group afterwards. So you'll take your thesis statement, and if you don't already have 3 techniques, and notice there were 2 to write here, and that was so that if you wanted to try them with different lists of techniques or try out different appeals depending on what the techniques create, you could try things out down here. Your instructor will tell you which one's stronger or if anything needs to change to make them stronger. Sometimes your instructor will say combine them. But these techniques all come from number 6. And we've listed a lot of things. Topography of the ad means the composition, how's it laid out, camera movements. We've listed color, we've listed backgrounds, we listed characters, but sometimes we don't list everything. Sometimes there's something in the ad that we could not specifically list. It is okay if you noticed something that wasn't on this list, as long as it's something that helps make the ad happen. So you're going to take your instructor's feedback and you're going to come over here, and this is the step 2 organizing worksheet. And you can see that we ask if you're rebuilding or not, we ask about your ad, and then we want you to take your thesis from number 7 in step 1 and put it here. If it needed to change it before you put it here so that you're researching the right thesis. And then as you come down here, we'll tell you how to do search terms in the week 2 lecture, but this is what Susan was talking about right here. The first source is a Matt Rosenau video. You can find links to it and embeds in both step 1 and the step 2 assignment pages in FSO. And you're going to look for things in that source that help you talk about the techniques in your ad. I recommend doing that one last. I recommend go ahead and fill out the author's name and all that information. Go ahead and create the APA citation using www.projectapa.info. Go ahead and summarize the video, but I would save 8 and 9 for after you've done your other research. And the reason is because if you start out trying to research the effect of political speeches on target audiences in ads, and you realize that you are not finding anything because it all just wants to come back to political ads specifically for campaigns, you may find that that is the technique that you need to tie to the Matt Rosenau video because it's too hard to find something. Meanwhile, if you already tied it to music, it's really easy to find research on how music works in ads. So if you've already tied the Rosenau video to music, you might trick yourself into thinking you're backed into a corner, or you still have to go back and swap out your answers to 8 and 9 to make them apply to that other technique that was harder. So for each of the sources, you're going to put all the publication information, and then you're going to look at projectapa.info. You're going to find how to create a reference source or reference citation, and you're going to put that citation here using this information and the format on projectapa.info. This basically is an annotated bibliography. We're teaching you how to look at a source, figure out what it's saying in general, how what it says connects to what you're trying to figure out, and then find a couple of quotes that you can use. So that is what this worksheet is all about. Source 4 is only required if you're rebuilding. If you are starting fresh or a brand new student to this class, you don't have to do a 4th source. Can you? Absolutely. If you're like me, I love research. I love chasing things down those rabbit holes. So if you find, I've got these two great sources, but I really want something stronger than the Rosenau. I'll still use the Rosenau in the essay, but I really want to get a strong source for that other technique too. Go for it by all means. But if don't let that keep you from turning it in. If you're not rebuilding the old work and you really want a source for, and the deadline's coming, turn in your work. You can still look for a source for. We'll still see that you did that when you create your essay. This is just getting ready for the essay. This doesn't mean that you're going to have everything here. And we will also be commenting on your research next week to help you make that stronger. So I'm going to check the chat and see if I missed anything. Wes is asking if we'll go over some AP. Yes, Wes, in the main lecture, we spend, I want to say it's between 5 and 15 minutes showing you www.projectapa.info and how to use it. And the beautiful thing, I'm going to switch back to my face and then I'm going to give it over to Susan because I think she is ready to share some good information with you too. But the beautiful thing about APA format is that you don't have to memorize it. You just have to know where to find it. And where to find it is www.projectapa.info. If you can look and see what's capitalized there and capitalize that same information on your page, if you can look and see what's punctuated there and punctuate it the same way on your page, if you can look and see how the spacing works and space it the same way on your page, you don't have to memorize anything. You just have to look for the details and make sure yours happens in the same way. All right, that's all I got for you on research. In about 6 minutes, we're going to be hitting 11 o'clock. And if anybody has questions for us that you still want to type in the chat or take your mic off mute, while I am passing it over to Susan to finish us up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Elise looks like she wants to talk too. So.
Just making sure if anybody has any questions. Nope, I'm happy to hand it off to Susan.
The thing that I wanted to add, I know that research can be intimidating. We all know that research can be intimidating. But if you do a thorough job this week, it is so easy to write the essay. If you find your sources, if you find good quotes, if you find solid examples, it will be just a breeze to put that into an essay. If you turn in this, last month I had a lot of students turn this in with 1 or 2 of the resources completed. And some of them would do the citation part, but not put any quotes in at all. If you don't do this assignment thoroughly, it makes next week much harder than it has to be. Everything, the way that we have built this class, everything that you do can be used later. As Bethany showed you, going from week 1 to week 2, well, hey, you take this, you put this here, you pull this from the first assignment and put it in your second assignment. You'll do the same thing going into week 3. You'll take the things that you do in week 2 and pull that into week 3. I also wanted to add, when it comes to, and now the thought is gone. I was like in the middle of the sentence. I think I was going to talk about not the Rosenau. Hold on. This is real time, people. This is my brain not working. Yeah, and Bethany did submit the link. It gave you the link for projectapa.info. I know I showed it to students. I talked about it with students. If you complete the assignments and you do all of the sources, you will find it really moves very easily into the next week. And next week, I remembered. In the week 2 journal, Bethany mentioned it, but I want to emphasize it because last month, I had students who said, I couldn't figure out how to put the words on the image. And so they turned in their journal like 3 days late. You don't have to do the image with the 3 points on it. It's just an option. It's something you can do if you feel inclined to do so. Do not spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to put your sentences in an image. If you are not, as Elise is saying, you are not graded on the image. You need to do the writing. You need to answer the questions. The image is just if that appeals to you, if you're a visual thinker, and specifically if you're someone who already knows how to use the image and the software that you would do that with, we don't want you to go out right now and learn a new software just to do this journal assignment. Don't spend a lot of time on, trying to create an image. Please don't spend this time. Week is a little bit, this week time is a little bit more pressing just because we had a holiday. You had a holiday. So we have fewer hours this week to get your work done. And as Bethany's saying, please do set aside 2 to 4 hours to do the research. Research takes time. Do not go to Google and type in some words and use whatever you find. You want to use the databases. We show you how to use the databases. You should have learned how to use the databases in a previous course, even. You should have used them. I think they even show you in orientation the library databases. So this should not be new. But if it is new, if this is something you have not done yet, yeah, they don't go into great detail. We do in the lecture go into detail. Bethany uses several examples. If you can't find anything, let us know before Friday. Let us know and say to us, hey, I need help finding research. I don't know what kind of search terms to use. If you don't, that is covered in the lecture. But if you watch the lecture and you're still like, I don't know what to do, before Friday, contact us. Contact the Writing Center. Make an appointment. We can go through these things with you, but we do have limited time. And if we don't get appointments made, it makes it, we allocate that time perhaps somewhere else. Like I have a meeting today at noon. If you said to me right now, hey, I need to talk to you at noon, I'm going to have to say, sorry, I have another appointment. We do a lot of work here, and we want you to be able to access us, but you need to give us time to get back to you. If you need to talk to us on Friday, let us know by Thursday. We are very accessible. We work very hard to be available for you. And say I'm not going to be available on Friday. I mean, I am this Friday, but say I were going to be taking a vacation day, I would say, okay, we'll contact this person instead of me. So we're here. We want to work with you. We want to help you. So help us help you.
One of the best things you can do, because if you do need to set an appointment, either by, if you need us to call you, if you need us to do a go-to privately with you, or if you want to come in, one of the best things to do is before you set, and if you can't do this, if you're on your phone and you've got 300 things going on, send us the message anyway, even if you can't do this, because it's better for you to just get in touch with us than to not get in touch at all, because you can't do this. But if you have the leisure time to look at your instructor's hours on the Meet the Instructor activity, and look at that and look at your own schedule and send your instructor 3 different times within their hours that you're like, hey, these are some times that I could meet. Do any of them work for you? And that way we won't have to go back and forth 5 times before we come to a meeting time. We can look and go, oh yeah, this one works for me. These other 2 won't because I have meetings or I'm working at the Writing Center those days. But this one I can definitely do it. And then you have an immediate response and we can plan for it. And that way too, if those meetings, like if you're just asking, can I come in today? Even if we see it today, we might not see it until the time that you come in, that you could come in, has passed, because we might be grading or doing something else. But if you send us multiple times, then you know that even if the first one passes before we can get back to you, and we try to get back within 24 hours on within 1 business day. And usually if we're here, we get back to you very fast. But if you've sent us 3 times and the first one passes, then you know that there are still a couple times that are possibilities. So that will help us help you too.
Yes, help us help you. It's very, I feel like a self-help kind of person when I say that. But does anybody have any questions? Any other questions before we finish for the day? Watch the lecture. Ask questions about the lecture. We're happy to help you. We want to help you. Everybody's pretty quiet. So
Yeah, well, I'm really excited that so many people came.
Yeah, we got a
So
lot of
if you
people
were
here.
here, thanks for coming. If you asked questions, thanks for asking. If you stuck around, hopefully this was helpful. And we will keep an eye out for your work this week.
Thanks, guys, and we will get feedback to you as soon as we can. Please understand we are only human.
Yep.
Elise, did you want to say goodbye before we close it out?
Oh, yep, yep. Cheers, everybody. Have a good week. Hope you had a good break yesterday. And yep, ask questions.
All right. Talk to you all later.
Bye.